Oh my gosh. I feel a bit like the olden days when I used to stand in front of a camera in front of my window. My bed used to be there. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. So for today's video, I thought I would try something a little bit different, a little bit of a throwback to what I used to do. And I kind of wanted to do a combination of things. First of all, I want to make a video talking about my cat because she passed away and I really want to tell her story, and it's really important to me that I do. And then second of all, I want to experiment with doing another talking to camera video. So if this doesn't go well, it doesn't go well. But if it goes well, hopefully it'll look really good. Maple came into our life last May, but actually her story starts before then. You see, many years ago, I started dating my now boyfriend Jake. And when I went to go over to his house for the first time, he had a pet cat. And his cat's called Eartha, and she's a Bengal. And prior to this, I'd never really been around cats. I'd never really interacted with cats. I'd never really interacted with pets, full stop. So I didn't really know if I liked animals that much. But when I met her and I got to see how vocal she was and fun and sweet, it made me absolutely set that I really wanted to get a cat. And so after that, I begged my mum for months to get a cat. I remember she would say, oh well, when you leave university and when you buy your own house, you can get yourself a pet. And I remember being like, please can I just get a pet cat? I will look after it, I will home it, I will clean out its poo, I will do everything for it, please just let me get a cat. But no, mum was set, she's not gonna buy me a cat, and that was that. So it feels as though the only way that we ever have a cat in our family was if one wandered in. So I remember it was Friday, the 2nd of May, and we were sat at the kitchen table eating dinner, and I remember looking outside and there were a group of people outside of our house, and they were all stood around looking at something that was on our drive, and it was a cat. And then this cat just wandered into our home, and I was like, why is this cat inside of our home? My stepfather saw her. He said, right, get out, go back to your home, go back to where you came from, because obviously he thought she was owned by somebody. It wasn't until the next day that we realised that actually she probably doesn't have a home. And I remember when we saw her, she was hidden in our garden, and I fed her some food. I kept calling her Eartha 2.0 because I thought that she was like Eartha, Jake's cat. This is a video when we first had her. Eartha 2? Eartha 2.0, that's what you are. You're like my best friend Eartha. Anyway, so I ended up calling up the vets because I really wanted to try and find out, if she was microchipped, and I thought we should probably go and take her to the vets and try and get her checked out and get her home. And when we were on the phone to the vets, my mum chirped up and said, actually, I think that she's pregnant. And so the vets asked for some pictures. So we then got her to lie out, and I'll put in a high-res picture here. But as you can see, she's got enlarged nipples. So basically we think that she's pregnant, and also she was lactating, so milk was coming out of the nipples. So the vet said, okay, please take her in because we want to go and check her out. They also asked for more pictures of her just for documentation. So we got some pictures of her to show how skinny she was, because she was very skinny. She looked kind of emaciated, to be honest. And then we got her in the car and took her to the vets.
Okay, we're going to take you to the vets. We're going to check you out and your babies. I don't want to listen to the cat. He's going to... She's quite vocal. I think she might have a little bit of Bengal in her. Yeah, she's got Bengal.
She comes from an abusive home.
She probably comes from a loving home, Annie. You're so vocal. It's okay. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. Don't worry. We're gonna take care of you and your babies.
Stand on it.
You can't keep it.
You can't keep it if it belongs to somebody else.
It's okay. You can be alright. Don't worry. You're like Eartha, but not as pretty. Eartha is my cat.
I remember driving with her. She was so vocal, and she clearly really wanted to get out, but we stayed with her the whole time. And then when we got to the vets, my mum stood there and she put her fingers through the bars and let the cat touch her fingers to know that she was safe. the vet said to us that she's not microchipped and that she was probably pregnant. And they also said that she's probably going to give birth very, very soon. And they asked us if we were comfortable to like look after her. And then they gave us the number for Cats Protection so that when she gave birth, we could then call up Cats Protection and they would come and get the kitten. And so we thought, okay, we can handle having a pet cat, right? My mum told me, go and get some food from B&M and then she'll come and pick me up on the way back from the vets. But I didn't just get food. I got a litter tray. I got Milton because I wanted to have disinfectant for when the kittens were born. I brought nappy pads, I brought catnip, I brought cat treats. I also brought like gloves when we were dealing with it. And I also brought like cat litter. And then I also brought like the highest protein cat food that I could find because I know that pregnant cats need to have a lot of protein. All of that was very, very good. We took her home. We were on the phone to Cats Protection, gave us a lot of advice about like what to do with expecting mothers. And the vets were kind of convinced that she was going to give birth 24 to 48 hours. And then it was mostly just about allowing her to settle in at home.
So tame, tame.
And she's not being microchipped.
No, and she said that. She said, God, she's so...
Yeah, if you need anything, give us a shout.
So do you think it's cruel if we shut the door on her?
The tops, that way you wouldn't be able to smell it. And I also put a bin liner in there so that way we can easily pick it up.
No, it's not cruel. Because she will, like, the trouble is, if you need, which is obviously where you don't want, like, your bedroom.
Yeah, that she can choose to go in to give birth. That's what we're looking for.
And we really fell in love with her. And actually we also discovered that she'd been abandoned. So I remember we were talking to one of our neighbours and she said that she works at the local cafe and she saw a couple driving over and then dumping a cat outside, which we think was her.
So what, someone was at... and they just like dumped her?
Yeah, literally. I think that she said they literally just got out, pushed the cat out, and then came in for dinner. And just acted like they didn't just... Yeah, it was horrible.
Now, this whole time, this cat didn't have a name. And we used to give her a name. So we were trying to figure out what to call her. Now we have 2 rabbits called Honey and Fudge. And my sister was thinking, like, why don't we call her Brownie or something to keep with the sort of, sweet treat theme. But the problem was that Brownie sounds kind of stupid. So I suggested Maple because I think it's like maple syrup. And everyone agreed with me. Everyone agreed with me until 24 hours later when somehow, as this happens with pet names, it went from Maple to Mabel. And my mum was like, we're going to call her Mabel. I don't know why. So we set her up at home and then we waited.
So we've got the cat that's pregnant. And we have the rabbits. They're outside. I know, you want to play with the rabbits, but you can't. What? Where'd you come from? Hello? Baby?
We waited expectantly. I remember my sister I'd like walk past my sister and she'd be on her phone, like messaging ChatGPT being like,
I need cat. So I found a cat and she's pregnant. Like, what are the signs of labour?
and we'd all be sat around eating dinner in the evening and my sister would be there like,
Did you know that actually this is a sign of labour and she could be going into labour any minute?
which I thought was really, really sweet. But Mabel didn't give birth in the next 24 hours, or 48 for that matter. In fact, she didn't give birth over the next week. And so eventually we took her back to the vets and we said, hey, we're a bit confused, like, did she miscarriage? Has something happened? And then the vets gave a proper look at her. And this is when they told us, oh, actually, this is her second litter. So she probably gave birth to the first and then was dumped because she got pregnant. And she was lactating, so she had just given birth when she was dumped. And they said, look, we're feeling around in her stomach. We can only feel 2 lumps. So we think it's only going to be 2 kittens and it's probably going to be 6 weeks. And so we thought, okay, 2 kittens, that's going to be manageable. And for 6 weeks, we're just going to keep her locked inside.
Where's Fudge, Honey? Go, look, see, you cannot go into their space. It's alright, it's alright, it's alright. It's alright, oh, it's okay, Fudge. It's okay, Fudge. Honey, it's okay. Can someone go straight, Honey, please? Okay, she's not coming in your space, that's important. You should.
all of this was kind of coinciding with the kittens to be born. There would then be a 2-week break when my mum would be around to look after the kittens, and then there would be 7 weeks when my mum was going to be away and everyone in the family was going to be away. It was just going to be me and my 19-year-old sister to look after the 2 kittens and the cat whilst my mum was travelling. So it was like, okay, that's going to be... As that time approached, her Labour Day approached, I was called to go to Nice. I needed to go to a film awards thing in Nice, which I actually made a video about. You can find it here. And on my way back from Nice, I got a phone call from my mum saying like, oh my God, she's in labour, she's in labour. And I watched on live FaceTime. I was literally sat in a youth hostel just up the road from where I work, like... Hello, it's Editing Poppy. So I actually don't know how I managed to forget this, but as I was editing it, I realised that I hadn't mentioned that we didn't just have 2 kittens, we actually had 7. I was literally sat on FaceTime watching as it was like, okay, we've got one, it's come through. And the second one, and there's another one, and another one, and another one, and it just kept going until eventually we had 7 kittens, and very luckily they all survived. I was so excited, and when I drove up the next morning to come and see the cats, I was ecstatic at the thought of getting to see kittens. I have never seen such cute, beautiful little things. Like their little mouth when they would do a yawn was just like the sweetest thing. Anyway, we ended up all kind of like looking at these kittens, and we were trying to name them and decide, like, you know, give them personalities and stuff, even though we'd like literally just seen them.
Look, you can see Edward's one. Hi, Edward. That's so small.
They were really, really cute. And also, they were like, we had basically set up the room for Maple with loads of areas for her to give birth. And then she ended up giving birth under my sister's bed and like covered the carpet in blood. So, you know, cats choose the worst possible place. Anyway, over the next few days, we gave her a lot of space and allowed her time to, like, you know, recover. I remember...
So spicy.
just watching a video of like when she came out and she'd be like begging us for food still because she was so hungry, she was so skinny still. Anyway, fed her up. We eventually, after a few weeks, we were able to like hold the cats as well, and that was really, really magical.
When she starts meowing, I lick my finger to groom her.
Look at you lot. Look at you lot. Oh, Mabel, you's a good girl. You's a good girl, Mabel.
Are we keeping that? What's wrong with them?
Nothing, it's just that we're trying to give them each a little cuddle time.
This is my Zoe.
This is Sylvie and Derek's one.
No, they might get some.
No, because George has asked me.
And it's also so crazy because now I know what these cats look like when they're bigger. But the kittens were all super cute. I mean, my sister would like watch TikToks with them. Over the course of the next few weeks, they started to get bigger. Once they'd grown to a certain size, we decided that it was time to move them. We wanted to make sure that my sister's room would be free as she was going to come back to our house from university to help look after them. So we moved the kittens into the living room and we set up a little cage for them. We watched as they opened their eyes, they began to move around. It was really, really exciting to watch as they took their first steps, and it was also a bit anxiety-inducing because we knew that we had to start learning how to wean them at a point, and that was something that caused me quite a lot of stress, and I think that it was also at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. So, yeah. What I also learned when these kittens were born is that I am allergic to cats. Okay? I figured this out because I noticed that I was getting hives and sneezing whenever I was holding the kittens. And you're probably sitting there going like, oh, but didn't you have a cat for ages and also your boyfriend's cat? I did, yeah. My boyfriend has a Bengal and they're hyperallergenic. And this is another thing that was so crazy about Maple. She was a Siberian forest cat. Now, we didn't realise this at the time, but basically, when we first found her, don't forget, she was like really skinny, but definitely like a hairy cat. Like, she was a thick-haired cat. As summer progressed, her coat went thinner and thinner. So we were like, oh, okay, she must, like, you know, she's just like a tabby, or whatever, a long-haired tabby. And then, as winter approached, she got really, really fluffy and turned into a giant fluff ball. And then I remember I was taking pictures of her, and then Apple like popped up and was like, do you want me to identify this cat for you? And I was like, yeah, Apple, go for it. Identify this cat. And Apple was like, Siberian forest cat. And I looked it up. And yeah, she's a Siberian forest cat, which is a hyperallergenic breed. So it was just so serendipitous and so magical. But the kittens made me sneeze. They also made an absolute tip of the living room. I remember I left for like a week because I wanted to go to France to go and hang out with my boyfriend for a week. And when I got back, my sister was left by herself with the kittens, and unfortunately it absolutely got on top of her. And there was piss like everywhere. There was shit welded to the floor. Like, it was an absolutely disgusting mess. I called my boyfriend. I told him, please, I'm so sorry, I know you just spent like 10 days with me in France, can you please just drive over here and come and help me with the kittens? And he did. Well, trying to wean the kittens backfired. How's the tip? What I'm gonna do tonight is I'm going to make a small dent in the tidying, and then I'm going to move the kitten cage into here. I'm gonna sort it all out. I'm gonna get the washing done, house tidy, sort out the wires, and then tomorrow... Right, who's been eating a lot? Honestly, I think some of the ones are actually eating quite a lot, so I'm gonna take one off. Get there, go on. Sorry, baby. You've actually eaten so much, okay? And your friend has got barely any, okay? She's got 8 teats but 7 kids. You're not very bright, are you? Come with me. Yeah, I've got damaging panels. And we did like a full detox, a full clean. We set up the kittens with like a whole new area for them to go and hang out with. We fed them, we did all of this. We've created a brand new run for the kittens because they were getting a bit chaotic. So that's the litter tray in there. There's a litter tray in there. They've got tunnels that they can go in that lead them to different places. They're finally, look at them. They're actually like eating food. We've got them in piles over there. They have like a bed up there. They've got beds there. They've got these different pods. They've got loads of toys. And then to stop them escaping, we've added in like reinforced walls.
And they don't want to, they're not interested in climbing, are they?
Yeah, and the best thing is that Maple can come in here and like sit with them and just chill with them, and it's really, really nice. But then also she has her own space, and we've like completely cleared out, so now she's got like a really minimalist setup. But very quickly they became quite unmanageable, and there was a point where like I remember feeling incredibly exhausted because I was just like, I have so much to do, and these cats are taking up like so much of my time, and they're no longer little kittens, they're like huge critters, and they're escape artists. Milo, not there, please. But equally, it was so lovely to just have company, because I spend most of my time working from home, or all of my time working from home. I only go into the office once a month, and I don't know, there was just something quite pleasant about knowing that I could just go into the living room and be with these kittens, and they would be running around, jumping, playing with me. Come here.
I'm going to get quite early nights, aren't you?
Milo. Sorry.
And also Maple was, I think that like at first she was very, very maternal with the kittens, and then over time she just became really, really fucked off with them. And I think we could all tell that she desperately wanted to go outside. She wanted to go back out there. But like we had to wait until, first of all, it had been I think 6 weeks since she'd given birth, and then I think it was like we were going to wait until my mum got back, and then we were going to neuter her, and then she could go outside. Anyway, we have 7 kittens, and yeah, so like we were trying to figure out what we're going to do to like house all these kittens. And as it just so turns out, my aunt wanted a kitten. One of her cats had passed away. My brother's girlfriend wanted 3 kittens because she'd lost a kitten, and then I think her sister wanted a kitten, and then I think like somebody else wanted a kitten, so she took away 3, so that's already 4 gone. And then my mum's uncle and aunt wanted a kitten, and then their daughter wanted 2 kittens. Yeah, and then that was all of them. Yeah, all of them went. They all went with the family, so we got to see them all the time on family group chat. And then at the end of summer, all the kittens went. They were all completely gone. And at last, it was just us and Maple. We got her neutered. She then wore this like little onesie. I don't know if I have any pictures of her in it, but she wore like a little onesie. And then she was allowed outside, which I think was really good news for her. I think she absolutely loved being outside. Did you know that you can train cats? So there's this YouTuber who I follow who's called, I think he's called like Outdoor Bengal. I'll link him in the description below. But he has a Bengal called Maya, and he teaches her with clicker training to come to him and to do stuff like tricks. And so I'd always thought, when I have a cat, I'm going to teach them tricks. So with Maple, I'd whistle for her, I'd click like this, I'd point, she'd come and sit because she knew that she did that, and I'd give her a treat.
Maple. Good girl. Maple. Good girl. Well done.
And I had been training her to do this since the first week that we had her. So by the time that she went outside, it was like I could literally go outside, call her name, and she'd come running. And I have videos of her running towards me, which is just so sweet. And it was really, really nice because I think that with animals you want to have that connection and that bond, and I felt like when I was training her I really felt that bond with her. And it was also really nice because she wouldn't do that to anyone else in the family, so that was really lovely. And yeah, it became a routine. Every single morning I'd wake up, go and put food in her bowl, she'd come running down the stairs, eat all the food, and then she'd tap at my door and come hop on my bed, and then she'd go out my window and go outside. And then I'd let her in, normally around about like 6-7 a.m. She'd come back in, hang around here for a little bit, and then we'd let her back out, but we wouldn't let her out around 8 a.m. because that's when like there's loads of traffic. Anyway, now this winter has got to be like one of the harshest winters I've ever experienced in my life. I have absolutely hated the winter that we just had. I think it was a combination of things, not just because of the weather. I think it's also that I was supposed to have an extension on my contract, so I was actually only contracted at my job to work March to March, and I'd been told for months that that was going to get extended, and then in January they told me that they were re-looking at the budgets and I might lose my job. I also was doing a bunch of work outside of work, so I'm currently trying to study for a second degree, and I failed one of the like first exams. So I was like studying in January, told that I might lose my job, and then I just remember feeling like, oh my god, like everything is going to shit, like my life is literally going to shit. I feel like everything's falling apart, and I had a really, really tough time. And having Maple to come back to meant so much. I was doing marathon training in the mornings, and then I was exhausted, and when I would leave on a Thursday evening morning I would do intervals, and then I'd have a full day at work, and then I'd drive like an hour away to go to the scuba club, go and do like 3 hours of like fucking scuba diving and training and all this kind of like chat and shit, and then I'd literally get back and she'd be sat on my bed waiting for me. And then I remember that we had a blizzard, a snow blizzard, and she got to go and experience her first snowfall.
Hi girlie, you want to go outside again?
Maple needs her outfit check.
Okay, Maple, give us an outfit check. We've got the fur, we've got the tail. Give us a little
Her little socks are from
Chanel socks.
Wearing Gucci fur.
Gucci fur.
She's got Versace eyeliner.
Biscuit. Girlie, it's me. Hey, girlie.
Oh.
No, it was biscuit.
That's the best of it, isn't it?
Hi, Milo.
Yeah, I'm gonna get like every bloody kid on the street to come out.
Hi, Biscuit.
And it was amazing. I knew that she would love it. There's like little videos of her when she like gets her paw wet and she's like flicking it off. And there was just something so joyous about getting to see her curiosity, because you knew that this was a new experience for her and she was seeing the world for the first time. And I remember I just kept thinking like how amazing it's going to be when spring comes, because I thought, you know, she's only ever really had one spring and she was pregnant and she was homeless. And I kept thinking, Maple, you savour this snow, but when spring comes, you're going to really enjoy it. And then it was my birthday in February. I had a lovely birthday. And a few days later, I woke up, let her out as normal, and then I got on with my day. I sat, I did work. I knew that she hadn't come home. She normally does come home, but she had sometimes been not coming home, so I was like, that's okay. And I remember I got a text from my mum that said, Poppy, I'm really scared. Can you please call the vets? They keep trying to call me. So I called the vets and I told them, hello, you keep calling my mum. I'm here to talk about Maple. Is she okay? Like, has anything happened? And the vet, like, she just said, I'm so sorry, but Maple's been hit by a car and she's died. And it just felt so incredibly cruel and sudden. And I remember feeling like I just had my birthday and I was trying really, really hard to focus on the fact that, you know, the long nights are going to stop soon and soon the sun's going to rise earlier. And I was just fighting for my life. Like, I kept being told that, like, oh, you're going to have your contract extended, you're going to have your contract extended, like, this stuff's going to happen, that stuff's going to happen. I was trying really hard to just focus and just to breathe and to just move forwards. And then suddenly I was told that she's gone. And, like, I think that I'm very lucky in that as I've gotten older, I felt like I've had a gradual acceptance of responsibility, as everyone does when they're adults. You become an adult, suddenly you have to deal with things like bills and rent and stuff, and I now live at home, so I've already done that part. But, like, you know, you don't feel the need for your parents as much, you know, you're independent. And I think that in that moment I just felt like a child. I just felt like I'm not old enough to be dealing with this and I really just want my mum. And I called her and she didn't answer, and I texted her and she didn't respond. And then at this point I was shaking, and I messaged one of my work colleagues who I'd been talking to this whole time, telling her all about Maple, even when we found her. And she said to me, Poppy, you need to close your laptop and take the rest of the day off. And she also was like, you need to give me a call as soon as your mum's here. Like, I want to know you're safe. Like, you need to have somebody with you right now. And I was just like, but I guess I'm going to have to go and pick up the body from the vets. And I phoned up my boyfriend, and he was a few hours away because he'd been in the mountains. He'd come to see me and he'd gone up to the mountains. And he was crying on the phone when I told him, and he literally was saying to me, like, this is so unfair. And I just said to him, it's not real. I can't believe it's happened. Like, I just want her back. Like, why has she died? I just want her back. And I tried calling family to have some support. No one was answering. Eventually I actually ended up calling my brother's girlfriend, who I don't talk to her that often, but I knew that my brother was busy and I just honestly couldn't think of anybody. And I called her, and when she heard me on the phone, she literally dropped everything and she was like, I'm gonna drive over there right now. And she arrived and I was crying and we just hugged. And then my mum got home and then we were crying and we just hugged. And then my sister got home and then we were crying and we hugged. And then when my stepdad got home, he went and got her body, and then we had to go and bury her in the garden. And we were all talking about it because my brother wasn't going to finish his shift until late, so we were waiting for him to come home, and I decided to go to Tesco's, and I went and spent, I think it was like £30 or £40 on flowers. I got loads of different flowers and I made a beautiful flower arrangement for her, put them right next to where we were going to bury her, and my mum was just inconsolable. She actually vomited. She was so unwell. And we buried her, and then, yeah, that night I couldn't stop crying, and the next day I couldn't stop crying. And I'm very lucky because my work colleague told me that I could have the next day off, and she said, don't worry about work, Poppy, I'm going to handle everything for you. You take this day, please. And I decided that I would go to Corris because my family used to have a house in Corris. So my stepdad's uncle used to live in Corris, and when he passed away, he left the house to my stepdad and his siblings. And so from a very, very young age, I used to go to Corris quite a lot, near Mahon. And it's like a really, really special thing to our family. Like, it means a lot to us to go there. And I went there because I know that there's slate in Corris, and I wanted to go and get her a gravestone that meant something to our family. I wanted to go and get something that, like, was significant and a part of, like, our family's story. So that's why I drove all the way to Corris. I went and found a slate stone, and then I took it all the way back here, and I used some pens and I covered it in love hearts, like absolutely smothered it in love hearts. And then I wrote Mabel because I just couldn't want my mum to cry by writing Maple, and I didn't want to make it a big thing. So I wrote Mabel, and I wrote 2026. And then we put it over the gravestone, the flowers, and that was it. And then after that, I tried really hard to move on. I just wanted to have a clean break, like good things happen. Needless to say, that didn't happen. If you've seen my last few videos, you know that, like, for my birthday, I was supposed to go to Egypt. We cancelled that because of the war in Iran. I know that Egypt's not, like, involved in that. It's just sort of like, I'd already been through so much shit with the cat and then my job and everything. I was just like, I don't want to deal with this. So we went to Tenerife, and then I got decompression sickness and I ended up really, really ill. So it's just sort of been non-stop ever since. But a good thing about all that is that it's distracted me. I feel quite distracted. But every so often, I still catch myself looking at something and just thinking, it's so terribly cruel that she doesn't get to experience it. And actually I found the same thing when I lost a friend to suicide. I remember that because she tried to talk to me like the week before she killed herself, and I didn't want to talk to her. And then when my mum told me that she died, I was very upset. And then, like, I remember working through it and going out for a walk at sunrise, and the sky was this beautiful purple colour, and I just remember thinking, she is never going to get to see this. And I just think, like, I understand that, like, Maple is a cat, and, like, obviously I think as humans sometimes emotions make you uncomfortable, so you don't want to admit that they have, like, the animals have a vast array of emotions. And also, like, you know, they do experience things differently. But I miss her in a quiet way. In, like, you know, whenever I hear the birds, or whenever I see a nice sunrise or a pretty view. Anyway, that's her story. And I just think that she brought so much joy into my life, but not just mine, my whole family's. And I really just wanted there to be, like, something to commemorate her. And, like, I wanted to make a YouTube video about it because I wanted to include all of the footage that I have of her and all of the pictures and have it in one place. Because at the moment, it really, really hurts when I look at them. And I want to get to a point where it doesn't hurt, but I can't deal with that right now. So I'm going to put it in this video, and I'm going to close the lid on it. And then later on, maybe it won't hurt so much, and I can open it up and look at it, and it will just be nice. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was a nice memory for future me. Does anyone want to watch this video? Next video will be me in Vancouver. Thank you for watching. Bye.